Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our video series on SAT verbal hacks. Today, we're going to be talking about transitions questions. Transitions questions always appear toward the end of the verbal section, right before the bullet point questions at the very end. You'll know that you're dealing with one of these because they're always worded the exact same way. Which choice completes the text with the most logical transition? Now, the way to approach these questions is to consider the relationship between the two sentences that the text provides you with. There's going to be a complete sentence followed by a sentence that begins with a blank. You have to figure out how the ideas in the first sentence connect to the ideas in the second sentence. Once you've determined what relationship the two sentences have, you can then look at the transition words that are given to you and pick the one that corresponds to that kind of relationship. For instance, the first sentence might provide you with a cause of something, whereas the second sentence might give you the effect of that thing. And I might want to choose a transition word like therefore if that's the relationship that is at play. So let's actually go ahead and try to apply this using this text that we have here. You'll notice that this text has 3 sentences. Sometimes that will happen, and that just means that there's going to be one sentence that you don't have to pay as much attention to. For this text, it's going to be our first sentence. So here we go. Biologist Karen Wardkinton conducted an experiment to determine why the egg clutches of red-eyed tree frogs react to being shaken and tugged during a snake attack, but rarely react to being jostled during a rainstorm. Here's where I need to start paying close attention. Vibration recordings of egg clutches near Gamboa, Panama, revealed that a snake attack and a rainstorm each cause sustained low-frequency vibrations of the egg clutch. The blank is going to come after that, so I know that this is my first sentence. Blank, they also showed that a rainstorm usually produces short periods of significantly higher frequency vibrations. That is obviously our second sentence. So now we have to think about what ideas are in the first versus what ideas are in the second, and then how do those ideas relate. This text does have some pretty technical scientific language, but don't let that intimidate you. Really boil it down to the core idea that each sentence is conveying. In this case, we're talking about an experiment, and this first sentence is just telling us what they found. There's egg clutches, basically eggs of these frogs, and what they found is that when there's a snake attack and when there is a rainstorm, that causes the same thing to happen. And in this case, that is sustained low frequency vibrations. Sustained, of course, meaning something that happens over time. Low frequency vibrations, it's just vibrating like not very quickly, low frequency. So now I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the second sentence. So it mentions a rainstorm as well, which I notice is also in the sentence before it. But what it says is that they found that this rainstorm also produces short periods of significantly higher frequency vibrations. So right off the bat, I'm noticing some opposing words, some antonyms, if you will. This first sentence mentions a sustained period of time, a long period of time, whereas this one mentions a short period of time. That to me seems like, oh, there could be some contrast here. That becomes confirmed when it says that those rainstorms over a short period produced higher frequency vibrations. Higher frequency obviously being the opposite of lower frequency. So clearly, that means that we have a case of contrast between these two sentences. So I can go ahead and label the relationship between these two sentences as contrast. Now I'm going to go ahead and actually take a look at the answer choices. Again, there's all different kinds of transition words that go along with different categories of relationships between sentences. You'll obviously want to study up on those before the SAT. Additionally is the first transition word we have here, and like the word implies, that's a case of addition. You would use that when the second sentence is merely adding on to the first. Therefore, as I said earlier, is a cause and effect word. In fact, is sort of similar to additionally. It's giving us some new information. It's adding on, but it's also sort of there to emphasize this new information and to really like hone in on a particular point. The final word that I have here is however. And however is a classic contrast word. So because I already identified the relationship between these two sentences as one of contrast, that is going to be the answer choice that I go with. And that is indeed the correct answer. So to recap, when you're dealing with transitions questions, hone in on the first and second sentence, the complete one followed by the one with the blank. Consider what the relationship is between those sentences. Once you know that, pick the transition word that goes along with that relationship. I hope you found this helpful. Make sure to like and subscribe for more, and I'll catch you next time.